GameCola faithful, and welcome to the GameCola podcast. This is podcast number 187. Add some yeast so it will leaven. I am your host and podcast commander, Joseph Martin, joined by...
I'm Blu Ryder, and after you sink, you drown.
I'm James Pelster, and I was going to make a baking joke, but I think the drowning comment really changed the vibe.
You can still make it work, right? Like if you
put a third process,
if you throw
set
a flat
something on
piece
fire,
of bread,
it burns.
Yep.
No, throw a flat piece of bread onto the water, it'll float, and then if you ball it up into a little dough ball, it'll sink. And that's the relationship between bread and water, and sinking.
Where's
Not
that
drowning.
on the type chart? Bread type, it beats
Bread
water
type.
I
type.
think it would be, shouldn't it be a grass? It's either grass, or fairy. There's lots of
it is fairy
bread
because of
Fairy?
the dog.
there's
The Doberman. No, wait,
fairy
that's the
types
No.
include like
No, because
mystical
dogs are normal
creatures.
No,
No,
there's
no.
that one dog that's made of bread.
Fairy types, James, include mystical creatures and desserts.
And dogs.
Those are the two fairy types, and there's a cake dog.
Well,
If
but
there's any normal types,
but then we have
they
ice
get
cream.
turned into fairies eventually.
But ice cream is ice type, and
Well,
ice
yes,
cream is a
because
dessert.
that's ice. It's baked. Sorry, I should
But
say
it's a
baked
dessert.
desserts. Baked desserts,
Okay,
like cake, stuff that.
it's
And
important that we're specific.
mostly
Joe.
cake. Mostly cake.
Mostly
I
cake,
think.
because there is like the cupcake.
No, there's
Pokemon, isn't
there's
it?
a cotton candy. There's
There's cotton candy
that's
too.
one.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we have the bear from I think Gen 7 that looks like it's partially
That's fighting type.
that's fighting type. I was gonna say, isn't there a bear
Beware?
that looks like it's like a piece of bread or like a cinnamon roll or a bun of some kind?
No, that's the dog.
That's the dog.
No, I feel like is it? I don't think that's right. No,
James, you
there's
don't even know the name.
It's like
of this
Stuffle
thing
or
that-
something.
That's the
That's
fighting
the-
type.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if Stuffle is. Beware is definitely fighting. I don't remember if Stuffle the
yeah.
is.
Yeah, beware, I think. I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen any of the Gen 7 or later Pokemon.
Well, James, you broke the subject of Pokemon, which means that now we get to talk about Pokemon. It's like playing Hearts in the game's Hearts. You talked about Pokemon, so now I have to talk about my Pokemon thing if I have it in my hand. And by my hand, I mean my brain, and by my brain, I mean I watched the Pokemon presentation for Pokemon Day. And my takeaway is that I don't think they would have done this if it was not Pokemon Day. It didn't really feel like they had a lot to tell us.
It was done out of a
Pokemon
sense of obligation.
So basically, the first part is just ads for all the app games. Like, oh, we're going to do this costume. Oh, we're going to do this thing. There's going to be this little thing for this week.
Oh,
And it's
tell
like-
us about Pokemon Sleep.
Yeah, there's going to be Darkrai and Pokemon Sleep and Cresselia and Pokemon Sleep. That's it. That's the news about Pokemon Sleep.
I feel like Darkrai would make your sleeping worse.
That is not the first time that observation has been made, James. I hate to say you're late to the party on this one.
Oh, man.
It may have even been in the trailer.
So through the power of this app, we're going to give you nightmares.
So there's two
That's Twitter.
things. There's two actual Pokemon, like big new Pokemon games that had news. I'll do them in reverse order. One was updates on Pokemon ZA. Also, they called it Pokemon ZA. There's a dash in there that they just don't pronounce. But
I'm still gonna call it Pokemon Pizza.
Pokemon Pizza, which they just sort of showed off a little bit more of the world. It's just like slightly, I don't even know if it's supposed to take place in the future. Like there's a futuristic redevelopment plan for this city, but
that was
like,
also happening in the original.
Right.
I don't know.
it's like Pokemon's already kind of like near futuristic like technology world. So it's kind of like you feel like it's in opposition, in partnership with like the past. Oh, so the last Pokemon Legends was in the past, so this Pokemon Legends is going to be in the future. But it just sort of feels like a sequel time period to the X and Y games. Like this just happens a little bit after that. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out it's far in the future or something.
They added a new mechanic. You can now jump off of roofs.
Yes, you can now jump off of a building. That's the main mechanic that they showed.
This is the main one I saw.
It sounds like a very reckless gimmick to be like putting in a game for kids.
It was
It
certainly
did
a
seem
choice.
strange. The other big thing that they showed was that they're changing Pokemon battles in it, where it's like live time. Like you can move, the Pokemon can move around and attacks have like ranges.
It's an action RPG now.
Yeah, but it's very, it was very unclear to me, I felt, like how much control you have over the situation.
You can
And I
dodge
feel
like in the anime.
Yes, you can just say, Pikachu, dodge it! And then Pikachu dodges it, and you're like,
Because
why don't we just do that for every single move?
That's how easy it is.
And it's like, the times they don't say dodge, the Pikachu gets hit, and you're like, well, maybe you should have told Pikachu to dodge, like last time, when he didn't get hit. So I think it could be very good or very bad, depending on how it is implemented, and I don't think we were given enough information to really know either way.
Can you, just to go back on the previous point, can you shout look out for a 50-50 chance to dodge or not? Because I feel like when they say, oh no, Pikachu, look out, it's like about a half chance that he'll like actually dodge and half that he'll be caught unaware
exactly
before he can react.
I had to think about it for a second, but you're absolutely correct.
Right. If they say dodge it, there's like a 90% chance it'll work. If there's like Pikachu, look out, you're right, it's about a 50-50. And if they don't say anything, then they're just going to take
They're
it.
dead. You're finished, buddy.
They're going to get the little swirly eyes.
Mm-hmm. Dun dun.
That was basically all the... Oh, and then they said that the starters were going to be Totodile, Chikorita, and Tepig, which felt kind of weird because it's two from the same region, which wasn't the case last time. I'm guessing they already revealed that Mega Evolution was going to be in this, and I'm guessing probably what happened is they're like, all right, here's all the starters that don't have Mega Evolutions yet. Everybody pitch... All the artists get to pitch their Mega Evolution ideas, and then we'll just take the 3 coolest ones we can come up with.
Well, that's fun.
That's my guess
like
of what happened.
They did say one thing. They said that attacks can be, like, go further or shorter or something.
They said a range. They said they could have a range. I couldn't tell if that was, like, something you could select or, like, just part of the attack. It
seems like their new, what was it, like the speed mechanic from the other Legends game, but they didn't show it. They just mentioned it, and it was odd.
It just wasn't really... it just kind of felt like they weren't really... And I don't even mean, like, necessarily that the game isn't finished enough for them to show us it, but, like, it was like, it's too early to reveal this information with the game coming out at the end of the year.
The Switch 2 isn't out yet, so
Well, we have to... That's the only time we get to say those words, Blue, because we talked about that console primarily for the past 2 podcasts, so we have to talk about something else. We can't talk about it anymore.
So you got your one.
James gets one more, and I can get one if I want. But Blue, you used yours up. Blue, did you have anything else you wanted to say about Pokemon Legends Slam Some Za?
I hope it's good. I really liked Legends, so I believe in them.
Yeah, time. I feel like I'm more confident in this Legends game than I would be in, like, whatever the next main games are.
Yeah, which is quite unfortunate of a situation to be in, but you take what you can get with this franchise.
But here we are.
The other thing that they announced, which they had even less information about, was what was it, Pokemon Champions, with the P in Champions a different color for some reason, just because Pokemon starts with P also? Like,
it's a secret hint to the mechanic. We have to figure it out.
So they
It
were just like,
involves P for Pokemon.
it's about competitive Pokemon battling. And that's all the info, and it can connect to Pokemon Home. And
Oh,
those are the two things that you know about
That
it.
sounds like
I-
every Pokemon game.
was the Charizard in the trailer for that Mega Evolved? Because
I
that
didn't
would
notice a Mega Evolved. There was definitely a terrestrialized
yeah.
Pokemon.
So if it was a Mega Evolution against a terrestrialized Pokemon, that would be that. There's implications there, and I don't know what they are, but they're a lot. I feel.
I heard someone say that they thought the stadium in the battle looked like it was like framed and sized in such a way that Dynamax could be a thing in it too. It would be interesting to have a battle. Like, is this? I feel like it's probably going to be. It seems like it's trying to be something in the vein of things like
Battle
Pokemon
Revolution and
Stadium,
stuff.
Battle
Yeah, that is
Revolution.
because those are the games it showed before that.
Right.
So it is some sort of spiritual successor to those.
Mm-hmm. But it didn't seem like it was going to have any sort of narrative. So, like, as sort of how Battle Revolution kind of took. I mean, Battle Revolution was not a game like Colosseum or XD Gale of Darkness, right? It was just. There was like a kind of a story mode, but not really. And it's just battles, and the story mode was just battles and menus.
But now it's on your phone.
Yeah, but you can play it on the Switch and on the phone. That was the other thing about it. So,
True.
I don't know. There's a lot of opportunities for a game like this to make the official competitive Pokemon battling scene much less of a headache. It kind of felt like it's like, this is how we're going to be doing Pokemon battle tournaments from now on. It kind of felt like
Using
the
the
pitch. I don't know
power
how
of
much
your
of that is
phone.
wishful thinking.
I like that the like Battle Revolution went from DS to the Wii, which had a lot more graphical power, and now it's from your Switch to your phone. Yay.
But again,
Fidelity.
there's not really much else to say about it. You
I
know?
think the P stands for plenty to talk about later.
Yeah. Again, like, I feel like it's just. I mean, I guess it's not coming. Did they say when it was coming out?
I doubt it.
Yeah. So if they didn't say when it was coming out, then that would suggest like 2026. So it's going to be a bit.
Soon, TM.
Not even soon TM. I don't even know if I would count 2026 as soon TM.
Maybe TBD, to be determined.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for Pokemon. But Blue, I've got a question for you.
Me?
Do you have any DC Comics video games that you're excited about in the future?
No, I don't. They're all dead. They got murdered.
What? I didn't know about this, Blue. Could you tell me more?
So DC is currently owned by Warner Brothers. And Warner
Mhm.
Brothers,
And the Warner sister.
maybe, I don't know her. We
Die.
haven't met.
Warner, I don't even know her.
And Warner Brothers hates me personally. They, I think they have my picture up on the walls, and every morning they have a meeting, and they're like, "How do we hurt Blue today?" Because
So how did they hurt Blue this week / month?
well, they closed a bunch of their video game studios, including the one that was making the Wonder Woman game, which was gonna have the new updated version of the Nemesis system from the Shadow of Mordor, the other
The
game.
one that was patented.
The one that was patented so
Probably-
no one else could use it to innovate. And
I would
then-
say, like, for a long time, the most, maybe now the second most, depending on how familiar you are with Nintendo's weird, and the Pokemon Company's weird Pal World lawsuit stuff. But, like, definitely, the Nemesis system has always been sort of the poster child of, like, patenting things in video games. And so it was interesting to see it make a comeback in this weird roundabout way in the news.
Because they were finally, after, 8 years? Or how long was it since the last game? It's been a long time. But they were gonna do they were gonna do the updated version of it in Wonder Woman. And they're actually gonna innovate on it. Like, I wish everyone could, but oh well. They were gonna allow for sort of the friendship version, which I feel is very fitting for Wonder Woman, because that's compassion and such is sort of her whole deal. But that's canceled, and now the studio behind that is dead. And I guess the Nemesis system, the patent expires in 2036, so maybe when that happens, we'll be able to use it.
We'll be talking about it on GameCola podcast number 300.
Is that the math? I don't know if that's the math.
Think
No,
so.
that is definitely not the math. That is me picking a random number.
Well, yeah, because I think podcast 87, which I was just listening to, because I'm trying to listen, but I was listening to the podcast from 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm guessing that's because there's some missed episodes from, all the times that I moved, mostly. So it's a little shuffled. And then there was also the worst Christmas ever, which made things a little weird. There's a lot that happened after that podcast time. But roughly 10 years, 120 podcasts in 10 years. So it'll be more than...
Yeah,
it
12
would
a year,
it would be,
10 years. That makes sense.
It would be more than 300 to get to 2020, to get to 2036. It would be like 310s probably.
But hey, I was pretty close though.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. But yeah. Well, earlier though, we can get back at DC Blue, as I was saying, because we can start making Superman and Batman video games in 8 years.
Yeah, technically. I don't know.
You can leap tall buildings in a single bound, Blue. That's Superman. I don't know what you're so concerned about. Do you want him to be able to leap 2 tall buildings in a single bound?
I'd like for Warner Brothers to stop hating my soul.
What would heal your soul, Blue? What do you want in life?
If their new mandate wasn't only Batman video games, basically.
Is there another Batman video game even coming out?
It's the only thing they know that might make money, except it will be bad probably because all the old Rocksteady members are gone now. And they're left with the ones that...
What about the Bebop members?
No. They're dead.
It does kind of feel like Warner Brothers' MO is just what if we stopped making things?
A little bit. They're focused... I believe they said it was Mortal Kombat, Batman, Harry Potter, and Game of Thrones, and those are the only franchises they're gonna focus on.
From everything. Not just video games.
It seemed like it, yeah. Which is upsetting, because if you played Multiverses or watched Space Jam, they have a lot more than that, and they're just pretending they don't now. Because of their own bad decisions.
Yeah.
So the next Batman Arkham game will be announced eventually, and it's probably not going to be very good. And then they'll be like, well, I guess Batman is bad now, so we'll stop using him. And then I don't know what they'll do. Whatever sucks most at the time.
What do you think? Okay, so you said there were those 4, right? That they're still hanging on to. What order do you think we'll lose each of those until we just have nothing?
I don't know much about Game of Thrones, so I don't know where that's at. Harry Potter will probably go last because that seems to be doing the best overall. Mortal Kombat might go first, simply because their turnaround time on games is shorter and their fans are already upset. So Batman will take a while to make the next Arkham game and take a while for people to realize, oh, we could do better. So I guess from first down to last standing, it'll be Mortal Kombat, Batman, Game of Thrones, and Harry Potter.
I look forward to listening to this podcast in 10 years and seeing how correct Blue was.
The thing is, I'm probably way off because they'll somehow figure out how to make it worse at every turn, and I can't predict their stupidity.
I just want to say, to put a positive spin on being incorrect about things, I was listening to, oh gosh, I can't remember what podcast it was. It was, actually, let me look at it.
While you're doing that, all the members or a lot of the members that were working on the Wonder Woman game are now they made their own studio at EA, so that's a mixed bag, but they're working on the solo Black Panther game, so that might end up being good.
Ooh.
And now back to James.
Yeah, so it was podcast 161, Your Favorite RPG is Terrifying. It was interesting hearing your predictions, Blue, your misgivings about Team Bloober making the Silent Hill 2 remake.
I was very wrong about that. Well, from what I heard, I haven't played Silent Hill 2 remake.
I've played
but allegedly
some of it.
It's very good, and you know what? I was wrong. I fully admit it. They did a great job from what I understand. And they've turned around, and I'm excited to see what they do next, because now they're a light in the games industry.
Yeah, I just thought that was like, hey, you know what? We're talking about like looking back on this in however many years. Which, now that I think about it, dang, Silent Hill 2 remake did take a while, didn't it? Because podcast 161, now we're 187, so we were talking about it couple of years ago, and it only just came out late last year.
Remember when Nintendo won E3 because of Samus or Metroid Prime 4? What a good time.
Oh man.
Yeah, James, as you've been listening back, are there any other called shots that were either made or missed that you want to? Surely I'm on every episode, so surely I've said something.
The podcast where we tried to predict what was going to happen with Nintendo Switch. A lot of what we said is very incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the predictions made were not correct. I don't remember any.
I hoped that it wouldn't just be Nintendo Switch 2 named the Nintendo Switch 2, and it's
no. I mean the
better.
original Nintendo Switch. That I think people were saying. People were debating whether or not it was actually going to be a success, because they thought, like, I want to say that they were thinking it looked like it was just iterating on the Wii U. And so they weren't certain that it was going to be a big success. Which, like, yeah, it's fair to be skeptical for any new system. But with the hindsight that we have now, it's fascinating to go back and listen to that and hear how many things we guessed that are so off base.
Was this after it was released?
No, I think this was after the first trailer.
You could see what it looked like.
I believe, I don't remember the podcast number, but it was What's NeXt for Nintendo Switch. I want to say it was podcast 102, something like that. You know what? Let me scroll back and look. I can look at it right here.
Maybe it was 102.
No, 103. 103. What's NeXt for the Nintendo Switch? December 5th, 2016. Wow. That was a long time ago.
In the episode I was listening to, we were actually making jokes about this was before, I think maybe we knew that there was like the NX, but we were making jokes about the next console, which would now be, I get to say it once now, the Nintendo Switch 2. And it was, I think the main one I remember is like, it's going to be a console generation behind still.
Which is probably accurate. I think people were saying it's like PS4, or it's around PS4, maybe PS4 Pro levels of power. Something like that. Which, I mean, again,
pretty good.
Well, it was already talked about, so I don't want to get into the discussion of it.
Well, this is my so when do we start hearing about like the I guess the PS6 and the Xbox?
Yeah, whatever horrendous title they try to give the next X, but that's true because we're already
Well, they did. Okay, so they did the Xbox One. So I think they'll use the horror movie requel trope, and they'll just name it Xbox.
Yeah, they're just gonna. Yeah, it's not even Xbox One anymore. No, it's just Xbox. And we did get the PS5 Pro recently, so that may be kind of a stopgap in the meantime while they figure out where the heck do we go from PS5 Pro at this point? Like we're hitting diminishing returns in terms of what we can develop
Spoiler,
at this point.
I bet it's the PS6.
Well, yes, Blue.
I want it to be.
I think that might be a good guess.
The PlayStation
2X
X.
2 box.
2X2 box.
Box 5.
Yeah, Box X.
When we get to the Xbox 10, it'll just be the Xbox.
Yeah, Xbox. Yeah.
Microsoft really looked at the Wii U and was like, I could do better. And by better, I mean worse.
Yeah.
Well, because now we have the Xbox. It's the Xbox Series console. So it's like, okay, so is the next console going to be like the Xbox Series X2? Because now it's like, well, what series of consoles is this? Oh, it's the Xbox series.
The Xbox spiritual successor.
Yeah. It's the NeXtbox.
Ooh, see, that's too good.
NeXtbox.
Microsoft, hire me.
But see, this is the thing that like Nintendo at least like mixes it up enough that you're like, well, what weird thing are they gonna do next? To the point where when they don't do a weird thing, people are like, huh, and they talk about it.
Yeah.
Whereas like with the PS6 and the Xbox Series 11 or whatever, like you're right. Like there's a certain point people have made the joke that's like, well, if you want to get a console, just get a gaming PC. But like we're getting really to the point where like a PS5 and an Xbox are just like a weird dedicated gaming PC. Like the line is just getting so thin, and the cost benefit is just getting so. There's just not a practical, like, as PC games have gotten more stable in general, as people have gotten access to better and better hardware, as there are more and more diminishing returns on super optimized hardware for video games. It's just the difference is becoming smaller and smaller, which is why like Nintendo's shifting to focusing on the form factor of something you can play on the TV and in your hands. I think also helps with like, piracy. Even if you can pirate a Nintendo Switch game, like you are losing some of the main appeal in doing so because the form factor is so important to a lot of how the games are structured. I think that's like, if you want to, of all of the weird things about Nintendo and video game emulation, I think their idea of we're going to make games that are so distinct to our particular hardware that it would feel like a lesser experience if you pirated them in a way that circumvented the hardware. I think like that's a fair way of approaching it because that gets you something interesting.
True.
Right?
But then you have the Steam Deck, which you can play emulated Switch games. I don't know how well, because I don't have a Steam Deck, nor do I emulate my Switch games. I just use my Switch. But you at least do get like, the portability back.
There's a level of like intensity involved in, right? You have to buy a Steam Deck, and also like there's Venn diagrams of person who would buy a Steam Deck and person who would want to pirate Nintendo Switch games. And like they're probably more overlap than plenty of other demographics, but they're not like two circles on top of each other.
No, very much not.
So like I feel like that would probably end up being kind of a wash. It will be interesting to see once the console that shall not be named comes out, because we've talked about it too much. I'm sure there will be like direct comparisons to the Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
And the different versions of it, I think in particular, because there's kind of a spectrum of Steam Decks. So how the comparison there, I think, will be really interesting, especially when it comes to like price point, but also just like functionality in general. Yeah, I'm curious. I think that'll be a really interesting discussion. I don't know. The Steam Deck is, that's definitely, I remember I talked a lot about the Steam Deck when it was sort of first announced and in the public consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, for the most part, probably a lot of my comments held up in that it still feels mostly like an enthusiast market.
I would
I
say
don't
so,
feel like
yeah.
it's broken mainstream in the way that I feel like we were kind of debating whether or not it was going to... Right, like there was kind of this idea, it's like, is this going to be the Nintendo Switch killer? And the answer is no. It definitely did not replace the Nintendo Switch.
I don't think you can kill the Nintendo Switch.
Right. It didn't have Mario Kart 8 for sale.
Yeah,
right?
because
Which
if it,
means,
well...
which is the main way that the Nintendo Switch makes money now.
Could you imagine how much money Nintendo would make if they sold Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for both the Switch and the Steam Deck? Because everyone who owns both would buy it for both systems, because clearly anyone who buys Mario Kart 8 will buy it as many times as they possibly... As many times as they can justify.
I think that would be great because on Steam it might actually go on sale, so more people would buy it.
I was watching an episode of Scott the Woz recently. He was talking about Mario Kart. It was his episode about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and he was saying, like, he was talking about how well it was selling, and that was, I want to say, only a year after the game came out. It had hit like 25 million sales at that point, which now I think it's like double that, triple that probably. And he was saying, most people go to the store for a quart of milk, they come back with that and a copy of another copy of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
It's so wild to me, like, that it just keeps selling. But now we do know that we're getting another one. So maybe maybe people will stop for a little bit and just
down.
wait. I am maybe the last Nintendo Switch owner on Earth without a copy of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
I also have not bought it because it is very expensive.
I do have it for Wii U. I do have Mario Kart 8 for Wii U, which is why I didn't get it for Deluxe, because I had already played it. And I do play it, like, I have played it on Switch with other people. But Blue, you and me, James, do you have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe?
Nope, I do not.
So specifically GameCola people.
We're the holdouts.
We're the last bastion of people who do not own Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Does Jetty own it? That would be wild if Jetty had it and we didn't.
That is a really good question, actually.
I could see it either way.
Because, I mean, him owning, like, new games is, like, both a rarity, but also a surprisingly semi-common occurrence lately.
Is there any reason he would need to have it to the point that someone else would force it upon him? That seems to be the main indicator.
Social gatherings?
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know. It's really a 50-50, in my opinion.
And then the question is, would he enjoy the game?
Hey, James.
Yeah.
Have you played a video game in recent times?
I have played a video game in recent times, but actually I did come up with a topic I wanted to discuss before I got to that, which is kind of just tangentially related to the games I've been playing, which is, so I've been thinking about trying to branch out in terms of the genres of games that I play, because I've realized that lately, this last probably almost year or so, I've been playing either a lot of the same handful of games or just a bunch of the same genres of games, namely being RPGs mainly. And In some cases, some of these like sandbox games like Minecraft. And I've been trying to think about what genre of games I should try out or try to go back to in either in my backlog or finding new / old games that I haven't played before. And I was curious if you guys had any recommendations. Like, what are some of your favorite genres of game that are not RPG? Uh, do you have any game suggestions?
James, you know what I'm gonna say.
Pokemon.
No, that's an RPG, Blue.
Yeah. You're gonna say Mega Man.
Detective Pikachu is not an RPG. Sorry, Joe.
Well, you're playing the
When
role
you
of
say
Pikachu.
Pokemon, Blue, that's like saying, like, oh, I want. Have you ever? Do you know what Pokemon is? And I'm like, oh yeah, I've played the Pokemon games. Like, obviously, I was talking about Detective Pikachu the movie. What do you?
Yeah, correct.
Mega Man's a good video game.
It is. I've tried playing it. I am just not very good, and when I'm not very good, when a video game is difficult and I'm not very good at it, it is difficult to continue. I think the furthest I've gotten in a Mega Man game is I got to Wily Stage 2 in Mega Man 2, which I understand might be one of the easier Mega Mans.
No.
No?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. No.
You've been given.
I have been led astray.
An incorrect opinion.
Mm.
The first 3 Mega Man games are way harder than the other ones.
Oh, interesting.
5 and 6 are much easier
Hmm.
than they're longer is the thing. There's more levels. Because there's 2 sets of castle stages starting at Mega Man 4. Mega Man 3 is is kind of weird about it. So they're longer, but like Mega Man 5, for example, like the extra life, just like one example is the extra life rate is a lot higher than other games. The Mega Buster is a really good fallback during a first playthrough. It just makes like that first section of the game where you don't have any weapons a little bit less of a slog than when you just have the Buster. Not that the other games aren't fun, but it is a lot harder when you don't have something that you can charge up, right? Mm-hmm. Mega Man 4, 5, and 6, 5 and 6 more so, let you trade time and speed going through the level for a decrease in difficulty in a way that is not as much the case in Mega Man 1, 2, and 3, I feel like. So, yeah, I mean, like, 1 is definitely the hardest. Partly because 1 is also a bit the most jank.
Yeah, I do know about that.
2 is, especially the castle stages, I would say, of 2 are really tricky. And there's some weirdness in them as well. The castle stages are the worst part. After you get the theme of Wily Stage 1 and 2, the da-da-da-da-da, like that you've peaked.
Okay, well, good. I've experienced the best part.
There are some good parts after that, but like there's a big dip right after that. So yeah, I wouldn't use struggling with 2 as like I can't beat any Mega Man game, for sure.
Okay, that's good. And I've got the Legacy Collection, so I could always try that. And I've got an actual NES, probably, which is probably better for like input lag reasons. Okay.
Blue, are you gonna suggest Alan Wake?
I mean, I wasn't gonna, but yeah, the whole Remedy Connected Universe is a good one. But also, you said you already own this one, 1000 times Resist.
Yeah, that's a good
point. And that one's really good, so I'd recommend that one, unless you want to play Marvel Rivals with me.
I have unfortunately sworn off of multiplayer, like shooter type
video
or
games.
competitive. Yeah, I have largely sworn off of multiplayer video games in general, but mainly like any kind of.
You don't want to help me get to Grandmaster? I'm so close.
Wait, what are you? What rank are you on?
I'm Diamond 2. So
what how many is that? Is it what, Diamond 5?
No.
And then
You
Grandmaster?
go, so there's Diamond 3, Diamond 2, Diamond 1, Grandmaster 3. So
Oh, okay.
I'm
It's the other
pretty
way.
close. I'm closer to Grandmaster than I am to, like, Gold.
How many people are in? Do they say like how many people are in each tier?
I'm higher than allegedly like 80% of people on the server. I forget the exact statistic, but it was like 90% of people are between like silver and gold, I think.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see, like how, like, because I feel like in Overwatch there was a special category of like top 500.
Yeah,
that
that's
was like
here
maintained.
too.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
I remember that.
I don't remember. I don't know how close. I mean, there's 3 different levels of Grandmaster, so there's probably more than 500 people there. Is there anything above Grandmaster?
Yeah,
Is that, I guess,
there's
just top 500?
no, there's Celestial. I don't know because I haven't gotten close to those yet.
Is this
enough
like
to-
a rank inflation sort of thing?
I
Like
don't know.
triple S plus 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 in like gotcha games where like every single card is S plus because it just has to keep, the numbers have to, and the ranks have to keep going higher and higher to make it feel like you're getting more value out of your digital pictures.
I don't know. Okay, so after Grandmaster, it's Celestial. After that, it's Eternity, and after that, it's One Above All. And I think that's where the like top 500 players are.
I
That
still think
feels
that's a
like
little ridiculous.
inflation.
Yeah. The whole point is like Grandmaster seems like a very nice like conclusion for the tiers.
I mean,
agree.
I do get it because it's like they're all everything above Grandmaster is like a reference to Marvel lore.
That is correct.
Oh.
So like I give a, like, I still don't think it was really necessary, but I will give them a little bit of positive to that negative for the for the lore references at the very least. But I have a feeling like we're gonna get to the point because like what, gold, right? If you're ranked gold, it's like, oh, so you're not very good at the video game,
Yeah.
which is a
Ouch.
weird thing, a weird situation to be in. And so like, in 10 years, is it gonna be, oh, you're Grandmaster? Oh, okay, get a load of this guy. How long have you been playing? Like a week?
Yeah, you got to at least be super ultra Grandmaster in order to get into like that is kind of funny. If I might jump back to my original question though. So, cuz we have the whole Remedy sort of extended universe etc. games. How long are those games typically? Because I think one of the other things I'm trying to look for is some slightly shorter game experiences,
So
something that
basically,
isn't like
any
a 30
game
hour
I suggest
or, like,
that's not an RPG will be shorter.
okay. But like
Because,
how much
well,
shorter do you think?
Well, it's not. What's the game Jetty's been playing? Hamburger?
13 Sentinels, Aegis
13
Rim.
Sentinels. It's not 13 Sentinels.
Okay, which I didn't think that game was super long. I mean, I think
How
he
long
beat
is it?
It's more like 4 Sentinels.
How long is 13 Sentinels?
Let me check how long to beat, because I didn't think it was a super
But
long
if
game.
you're already looking up how long to beat for 13 Sentinels, can we like
I can just look
cut
up
out
for
the
Alan
middleman?
Wake and Control.
Yeah, just
and
look it
stuff.
up.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
let me look up the length of a different video game.
Oh wow.
To try
Okay.
to guess how long the length of this video game would be.
It's much shorter, although apparently the Ultimate Edition adds like 6.5 hours of content if you go for main and extra.
I want to nip this in the bud a little bit because we're slowly approaching.
Sorry.
And by slowly, I mean quickly approaching internet on tape.
Yep.
Not as long as a big RPG is the answer to the
yes,
question.
it's actually much shorter than I was anticipating.
But James.
Yes.
those are games you will play in the future. And you've got some homework now. So in a future podcast, we better hear about some of these games. But what game have you actually played in recent times? Not soon to be times.
Yeah.
Not times, the video games of yet to come. I want the video games of the present.
So the video games of the present has been, I really hope I haven't talked about this on another podcast. I think I did talk about it a little bit in the Dragon Warrior 2 playthrough, which is coming out soon.
Spoilers.
It'll be out by the time you
Spoilers.
hear it. Well, it's not a spoiler because by the time the podcast goes live, the episode will be out.
Right, but we're going to advertise it at the end of the podcast.
Oh, that's true. Sorry. Anyway, I've been playing No Man's Sky. After, I want to say 6 years? I had not played it since 2019, and really I hadn't played it since, 2017 or 2018 in any consistent length. I think I had something like an hour of playtime on my last save file that was there, but I don't quite know how that was calculated. But anyway, I've been playing it again recently, just over the last couple of months. I still don't think I'm particularly far, but it's interesting, and I realize now a lot more of the gameplay design references that are being made, or rather the inspiration that was taken. I have not played any of the Elite games, but if you know what the game Elite is, I think you'll find that a lot of the sort of spaceship-based gameplay is very similar. You're flying around. Part of the game is walking around and exploring planets, basically exploring an infinite universe and cataloging these procedurally generated planets, fauna, flora, and minerals and all sorts of things, gathering resources, upgrading your ship. You can even sort of develop a fleet that does trading, intergalactic trading, and all the while following along a big, long sort of plot line, which I'm starting to get into at this point. There's some intrigue right now that I've found. Someone has gone missing, and I'm trying to search for them. And to do that, apparently, I need to figure out the source of the sort of race of, well, not exactly a race, but these hostile robots that are patrolling the various planets that you explore. And if you mine too much of the resources, or if you attack any of the animals for their food, etc., they will eventually start attacking you, and will even follow you up in ships of their own, in sort of drones, to attack you. And so I'm sort of tracing down where they're coming from to, I don't know, unlock the mysteries of the universe or something like that. It's been a decently fun time. I'm not super invested or anything. I've been coming and going from the game, but it's been interesting, and the moment to moment gameplay can be a little bit dry at times, but it's just something that that always keeps me coming back, even if I take a break for a week or two. So, and boy, compared to what the game was at launch, which I think its launch was pretty well discussed.
Documented.
Yeah, it's pretty well documented is what I meant. Yeah. It was terrible.
It was bad. It was a bad time. It was
not good.
Overpromised and underdelivered.
Yeah, and how. But boy, the difference between then and now, I don't want to say it's like a whole new game, because it's really not. It's just...
It really makes you feel like you're out in outer space,
Like
trying to get to the center of the universe.
You just had to get that in there, didn't you?
I just had to. It really makes you feel like that.
See, that's the funny thing, is I wouldn't even really say that. I don't think it really makes me feel like I'm out in outer space. Mainly, I think part of that's because...
Well, then what's even the point, James? What's even the point?
Immersion is not the only reason why we play video games, Joe. Although, if it was, then every game would be a role-playing game, because I want to feel like I'm in the shoes of the character.
Well, some games are role-playing games, but some games are rock-playing games. As in, you play as Rock.
Yeah.
Mega Man.
I was gonna say, it's not first person, so I don't see how it could make you feel like you're the Blue Bomber.
Well, first of all, Spider-Man was not first person. Also,
Tetris makes you
That's
feel
true.
like you're playing Tetris.
You're playing.
this is true. No other video game can make me feel like I'm playing Tetris more than Tetris, the video game.
Yep. But when I'm playing Pac-Man, I don't feel like I'm eating a bunch of pellets and chasing ghosts.
I mean, I think that's what we call in the industry a skill issue. So wait, is the goal of No Man's Sky still to get to the center of the universe / galaxy?
That is one
Because
of
that was a huge part of the marketing,
Yeah,
right? That
so
was like your overall goal.
right now that's not really been discussed at all. There is
Yeah.
they show you the path at all times when you're looking at the galactic map. I believe it draws a little line to show you what it has calculated is roughly the shortest path to reaching the galactic center. But right now, there's no extrinsic motivation to seek that out. There's a lot of other plot lines and stuff going on. So like they had me seek out like a black hole which warped me to another surprisingly nearby, not like close at all, but like I could at least see on the map in this infinite universe where I came from and where I ended up. Because you go into a black hole and it just warps you somewhere else. Thankfully, it doesn't just, spaghettify you and rip apart
Yeah.
your atoms. But right now, I'm trying to figure out, because I received a mysterious transmission, and that then their signal was lost. I'm trying to figure out where they are, so I've been talking with someone who knew this person, and now we're trying to unravel where these creatures called the Sentinels, who again, like I said, they patrol. They're effectively these drones, these robotic drones that patrol nearly every planet in every galaxy that you explore in varying degrees of severity, and who seem to get upset when you start mining for resources or basically doing anything that changes the planets from their natural state, I guess. So we're trying to figure out the source of them, because we think that it's somehow connected to the disappearance of this person. And then there's, of course, this sort of omnipresent thing called Atlas, which is this red orb, which I think is also semi-present in the marketing. It's definitely in the logo and the artwork for the game. It's not even a who, it's not a being, or it doesn't, but it's this deity of some kind, this great revered thing, this higher power, revered by one of the species in the game, the Korvax. And we have met with some other people, some Korvax who have disconnected from the collective, so to speak. The Korvax are basically this robot race that are kind of like the Borg from Star Trek. They're a sort of hive mind. And so we've met some other people who say that, a lot of them seek enlightenment from Atlas. You can do that if you want to. You can go and seek out this Atlas if you want. We know where it is, or like where the general path is if you want to try and reach it, but we don't recommend it. We believe that he is like it's a bad guy, basically, is what we're saying. We don't think that its power is good, and we don't think you should seek it out. So you're kind of left to your own devices, but there's a bunch
Figure
of
that
different
one
things.
out, guy.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
But yeah, so I really think I need to play more of the game and see where things go from here, because maybe that will present itself at some point. But it's a neat game. It's fascinating. It's fun to explore these procedurally generated worlds. They've got all kinds of wacky and strange things on them. But yeah, it's shocking how much better of a game it is. I I want to say it's a good game. I wouldn't say it's a great game, but it's a good game so far, and my opinion will probably change as I play it more.
Blue
Mm-hmm.
Ryder.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I said that thing about DC games to you. Can you ever forgive me by telling me what video games you've been playing in recent times?
Wait. How is that? I don't think that is how forgiveness works.
I'm sorry.
Will
Are
you
the
do this
podcast
act for
commander?
me to forgive me for the thing?
I'm saying by virtue of sharing emotionally, having this emotional moment of sharing a video game with me, and by extension, the rest of the podcast, you're acknowledging that I have been forgiven, because if I were not forgiven, you would not be willing to divulge this and have this moment. So
Well,
through the act of telling us what video game you've been playing in recent times, you have implicitly forgiven me for my sins.
that's actually not true. You're just making it seem that way by trapping me into the end of the podcast, which has to happen either way.
I mean, you could not tell us about a video game you've been playing in recent times. You're allowed to do that and
Okay.
suffer the consequences thereof.
What are the consequences? Tell me.
I didn't say I'd have to tell you what the consequences were. You're lucky that you get to know that there even are consequences. Most people don't even get that.
Wow. I think that in order to make an informed choice, I have to be informed better.
You are correct that in order to make an informed choice, you would have to be informed.
Mm-hmm. So inform me.
Now, see, that's a different subject entirely.
Are you saying you don't want me to make informed choices?
I did not say
But
those
you implied
words
it.
out loud.
You implied it like you implied that I would be forgiving you.
I think see, that sounds like we're on the same page.
No. Disagree.
Okay, so I'm not coercing you into forgiving me.
That's not what I said. I said you're coercing me, and I want the record to know that I explicitly do not forgive Joe. But I will talk about video games because I want to avoid consequences. And to do so...
I'll see you in court.
Objection.
Okay.
I have been playing a game. Can you guess which one it is?
Phoenix
No, I
Wright?
haven't. The fate is it DC Enemies?
No. Joe, you can't make me forgive you and then do the thing again.
You've clearly been
I
playing.
understood that as I was saying it, but it's like the joke was right, like a Marvel Rivals. What's like a
I'm
sort of opposite
justified
version
in
of
not
that.
forgiving Joe because
I
this
think-
is what he's like.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that you've been playing Marvel versus Capcom 2, New Age of
I
Fighters.
wish. I haven't bought the new collection yet, but I want it.
I did because I was curious to try it out again, exploring new genres and stuff. But anyway, sorry to
Did you play Overwatch?
No.
Have you played a game like Marvel Rivals that did not feature Marvel superheroes?
No.
Okay, so this is like your first exposure to the genre.
More or less, yeah.
So how are you... okay, separate the part of your brain that's like, I really like comic book heroes. Put it off to the side for a moment. And now I'm speaking to a completely different person. But, what do you feel about the genre of Marvel Rivals, just sort of mechanically as a structure, outside of all of the, like, references and lore and characters and all that stuff?
It's really fun. I wanted to play Overwatch. It was just I wanted to get into the universe of it, and they didn't let me, basically. They did nothing with it.
Yeah, they didn't build out the lore until like 3 years later when everyone had stopped playing the video game.
Yeah, so...
Ouch.
Yeah. But, it's a lot of fun, and I appreciate what it brings to the table that Overwatch doesn't, with the team-up mechanics and the different stage effects. And that's about my summary. Oh, I enjoy the character design, like the mechanics. There are a lot of unique designs.
How many different characters would you say you regularly play?
By choice or when people are not doing good team composition?
Whatever you think would be most interesting to talk about on the podcast.
Okay, well, I typically play Rocket or Doctor Strange. I've gotten Lord on Rocket, which is like a little achievement sort of proficiency tracker. So there's like a set of 4 tasks for each character, and when you complete them over and over again, and you gain like experience with that character, and then you gain proficiency with them. And so I have highest proficiency with Rocket, and it gave me a special little avatar. And I'm very close to doing that with Doctor Strange as well. But when people suck at team composition, and I have to do something else, usually they don't have a tank or a support, but, if Doctor Strange or Rocket aren't available, I try Cloak and Dagger or Invisible Woman, and for tanks, I've been trying the Thing, but I also have really liked Penny Parker since the beginning. If I absolutely have to go DPS, which is very rare, because usually you get like 3 people instant locking DPS at the beginning of the game, but I am not very good at aiming yet, because none of the characters I've been playing have to aim very, like, directly, so I play Scarlet Witch to try to maximize what I can do for my team, and yeah.
So, any other thoughts about these Marvels and their rivals?
No, not without like going into the
Not without making it a whole podcast.
yeah.
We'll get all the bits and pieces over time, I'm sure. Or if ever I decide to sit down. Is it like how much does it cost, or is it like free to play
It's
and
free
then
to play.
season pass? Okay.
Yeah, and you get all the characters for free.
So maybe if I ever get myself a computer that is not 12 years old, maybe I will purchase this, or I will play this video game with you, Blue.
Wow. And you'll
Wow,
help me get
imagine.
to Grandmaster?
I
Celestial?
think that might take some time. I think you might be helping me get to gold.
Only gold? Come on, Joe. You can do better than
How long have you been playing a week?
I, in recent times, tried to play a video game that I had played before, because I was like, I want to play a video game that a series that I knew that I've liked in the past. And so I went on to Nintendo Switch Online, and I started playing the original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon on Game Boy Advance, because that was on there. And I started playing it, and I realized, man, most of my memories of enjoying playing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon almost certainly come from Explorers of Time, Darkness / Sky.
That is correct. I don't even have to have your memories to tell you that is true.
Did you play both of those, or like a game out of both of those sets?
I've played
Blue?
Explorers of Darkness, and I have watched the Explorers DX or whatever the remake was. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know how much better the remake is. I would be kind of curious. The game, I also don't remember, because I definitely played the DS version as a kid. I had the Blue Rescue Team DS version. And so I don't know how much of this is the Game Boy version specifically, because it does feel a lot clunkier than I remember. Just like in the moment to moment gameplay even. The Mystery Dungeon series, if you're unfamiliar, you go into a dungeon, there's randomized floors, and you're trying to get to the staircase. And sometimes also like complete tasks on certain floors. And you're a Pokemon, and you have a buddy that's also a Pokemon, and your Pokemon gets selected based on how you answer questions in a weird BuzzFeed quiz. And the thing that got me to quit, honestly, is because you can start recruiting partner Pokemon. But like, to fill up your team each time, you have to like go to like their little world where they are talk to them, have them join your team, and then you go. And you have to do that every time, like, you go to a level. Like, every time you come back from a level, that resets. I think, unless I'm doing something very wrong. But, like, that is the third time I had to go and get Magnemite so that he would come with me on my team. I was like, I don't want to play this video game anymore. It was so much better when it was just a menu that you like switched through and selected from. And you had to, like, buy the locations that the partner Pokemon could live in before you could recruit them. It was such a weird vibe. And the character of it just is not as strong as Time, Darkness, Sky. Like, it's really impressive how impactful and strong the characters of that game were. Especially because, like, they're not consistent, right? Like, they're different Pokemon each time.
Mhm.
But, like, the characters themselves exist sort of extrinsically to the individual Pokemon that, quote-unquote, play them in an individual playthrough. It's really interesting how much of an upgrade the second set of games was, just going back and playing this.
Mhm.
Interesting.
I don't know, Blue, what stuck out to you when you watched the playthrough of the remake?
I didn't watch too much of it because I was considering getting it myself, but it is the story is a lot less well told than in the second generation, I suppose you could call it.
Yeah, it's really the same premise. Like, you're a human who got turned into a Pokemon, but you're right, like, the framing of it, and there's a lot of similarities in how, like, it kind of starts and how information is sort of revealed over time, and even a lot of the same, like, character trope. Like, the second set of games really does feel like a second pass at the same idea, done much better.
Yeah.
And just in a much more engaging way. I think part of it is that they're given more, you're given more, like, direct intrigue. Like, one of the main things is, like, you know, the character has amnesia, aside from the fact that they used to be human and what their name was. And you're given more intrigue as to, like, potentially answering some of those questions, like, really early on in Time, Darkness, Sky, in a way that I didn't really get. I just kind of, like, you just sort of had dreams, and then there was, like, woo, I'm a guy in your dream. And you're like, whoa, that was a weird dream. Oh, well. Whereas in, like, Time, Darkness, and Sky, it's like, oh, I had this dream, and that means that I'm going to go do something now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's going to affect a decision that I make within the context of the story. I don't know. There's also just more memorable moments from Time, Darkness, and Sky. And maybe it sticks more in my brain because we did that fanfiction podcast about it. Featuring Shadow the Hedgehog. No one put Shadow the Hedgehog in the first Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. Probably for good reason.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's why the second generation had Explorers of Darkness, right? Shadows.
Yeah. Man. Video games, huh?
Yeah, video games.
Thank you for listening to us talk about video games on this episode of the Video Game Cola podcast, known for short as the GameCola podcast. You didn't know that was a secret up until this moment. It's actually called the Video Game Cola podcast. It's not. I made that up. It was a lie.
Oh.
That's a lie.
It is. That's what I said. You
That's
said
what
it in a cadence
Kokichi
and made it sound like it
says.
was a reference to something, but I don't know what that reference is. And I'm talking over you, so I can't learn what the reference is.
You just really have it out for Blue this podcast, don't you?
I do. That ended up being the theme. And it didn't establish at the very beginning, but it has sort of emerged as a theme. Blue, I do feel bad. I'll let you take a shot at me.
No, I'm the better man, so I don't need to.
No, you're just not clever enough to think of something. Or
no, that was
I'm perfect.
That was
Wow.
good because there was layers to that.
I've created a weird energy here at the end.
Oh, that's all right. That's what we're all we're all
I've
capable of dealing
interrupted
with
the
it.
flow of things. Where were we? We have an actual internet website, GameCola.net. Find video game reviews, and episodes of the podcast. and old. I mean, it goes back to 2002. So if you want to know about what people were talking about in 2002 plus, you can find it on GameCola.net.
Lots of
It's
variety.
an actual internet website.
Lots of variety articles,
We have
too.
the YouTube channel, right, James?
Yeah, we have the YouTube channel, and by the time you see or hear this podcast, whichever method of consumption you prefer, the first episode of GameCola Plays Dragon Warrior 2 will be released. So go ahead and check that out. There's a playlist. It's been a long time coming. We've got some special guests on in later episodes, and I'm super excited to hear what everybody thinks about it, because it seemed like the first game was a pretty well received series. A lot of people seemed to like that, and I was just replying to a comment on the YouTube channel just today, saying, "Hey, please bring back the GameCola the GameCola podcast, the Dragon
Please
Warrior."
bring back the GameCola
Yeah,
podcast.
please bring back the GameCola. It's
Where's it
okay.
been?
It's back. It happens every month. But no, they were saying, can't wait for Dragon Warrior 2, and I went, hey, it's coming sooner than you might think. So please check that out. It's a whole lot of fun.
You can find that on GC.net, the letter G, the letter C, the word dot, the word net.
That's right.
Come to the Discord.
Yep, Discord.
That's where you'll learn all about all sorts of things. Go to the website. There's a Discord link in the top right of the actual internet website where you can find the Discord code, or in the description of the YouTube video, you can find the invite code. Come to the Discord. Talk to us. It's a fun time. It is a full-fledged community. And it's like a good Discord. I know that there's lots of times where it's like, hey, I'm a guy on YouTube and I made a Discord for people who watch my videos to sometimes talk to each other and basically just have drama and or yell about getting a notification in a server that they elected to be a part of. You know the guy I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Who's like, someone did at everyone, and they're like, why are you adding me about this? And like, leave the server. You never say anything except to complain about getting pinged. That doesn't happen on the GameCola server. It happens on other servers, obviously, because you can tell that I've experienced it. But it doesn't happen on the GameCola server. We just have a good time.
Yeah.
We just chat about video games. And there's the off-topic channel for things that aren't about video games. And there's what is it? It's Paul's... What's the channel?
Virtual Mouth. Is there
Paul's
still stuff
Virtual
going on
Mouth.
in there? I've had it muted for like a year.
It's definitely not as active as when it was created. It was originally created as like a place to put all weird AI stuff when there was kind of a boom of that. And it still gets something every once in a while. But basically anything related to generative AI goes in there.
Dear God.
There are fun jokes once in a while.
Yeah, it's not as like there was a period where it was like, all right, this is a little much. We need a channel for it so that it doesn't completely take over off topic.
Yeah.
But it's been quieter because there hasn't been as much interesting there.
But yeah, the Discord's
and
great.
I don't know, social media somewhere probably.
Not really.
Know. Like right now, no. But like, if you're listening to this in the future and there's like a main place to do social media, maybe we'll have maybe I'll convince Jay to get us a Blue Sky by then, so we can post something. We can tell people who aren't already subscribed to us about the things that we're doing.
Probably good to do at least a little bit of outreach.
So maybe we'll have something maybe we'll kick up the old Tumblr again. It was funny listening back in podcast 87, we were already making jokes about how the Tumblr hadn't been updated in a year. And now it has been 11 years.
Ouch.
Oh, you can email us, podcast@gamecola.net. And if Jetty's on the podcast, we will potentially read your email if I remember to ask him.
Yeah.
I think he's usually actually pretty good about bringing it up when he's on the podcast. I think he does pay attention to that. Maybe he gets it like forwarded to his email or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's time to end the podcast. Thank you for listening to this episode of the GameCola podcast. Have a wonderful time of day, wherever it is, whenever it is you are listening to this podcast. And we will see you next month. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Digi-destined Digipad, or whatever they're called.
That's a dumb
Digivice?
name.
The thing I said?
I don't think that's right.
The
Okay.
Digi-destined Digipad sounds... There's too much Digi in that.
There can
Yeah,
never be
Digimon
too
is
much
known
Digi.
for not using the word digi enough, actually. It's the primary complaint.
Yeah, they just don't say it enough times. All right, you ready to sync?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Sink!
All right.
Float.
Swim.
Let us just jump right
Drown.
into it.
Drown. No.
In 3, 2, 1.